I watched my sister destroy my engagement with calculated lies. My fiancé called me a cheater, a liar, and walked out of my life forever. 6 months later, he showed up at my door at 2 a.m., crying, with evidence that made my blood run cold. What he discovered about my sister didn't just ruin her marriage, it exposed a scheme so twisted, even I didn't see it coming. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. I never thought watching my sister help plan my wedding would be the beginning of the worst betrayal of my life. My name is Claire, and 6 months ago, I had everything. A job I loved as a veterinary technician, an apartment I shared with the love of my life, and a wedding that was supposed to happen in 3 months. Now I'm sitting in a cramped studio apartment, eating takeout alone for the 4th night in a row, trying to figure out how my entire world fell apart so quickly. But to understand how I ended up here, I need to take you back to when things started going wrong. Back to when I still believed my sister actually loved me. 8 months before my life exploded, Brooke showed up at my door with a bottle of champagne and tears in her eyes. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe and whispered, "I'm so happy for you, Claire. You deserve this." My older sister had always been competitive with me. Growing up, if I got an A, she needed an A+. If I made the volleyball team, she had to be captain. When I started dating Ryan, she made comments about how he was nice but not really her type anyway. So when she suddenly wanted to be involved in my wedding planning, I was shocked. But I was also hopeful. Maybe she'd finally grown up. Maybe having her own marriage to Nathan had mellowed her out. Maybe we could finally have the sisterly relationship I'd always wanted. I should have known better. The comments started small. We'd be looking at venues and she'd wrinkle her nose. "Claire, Ryan's family owns half the commercial real estate downtown. Why are you looking at this place? It's so budget." I'd laugh it off, explain that Ryan and I wanted something intimate, something that felt like us. She'd touch my arm and say, of course, I just want the best for you." Then at family dinners, she'd bring it up again. "Can you believe Claire chose that tiny venue? I mean, Ryan can definitely afford better. I wonder why he's being so cheap about it." My parents would chuckle awkwardly. My dad would say something like, "You girls and your wedding drama," and I'd feel my cheeks burn with embarrassment, but I'd defend her later. "She's just excited. She wants me to have a nice wedding. She means well." Then Brooke started showing up at our apartment. Always when I was at work. Always with some excuse about dropping off wedding magazines or fabric samples or wanting to measure the living room for some surprise decoration she was planning. Ryan mentioned it casually one night. "Your sister stopped by again today. She's really invested in this wedding, huh?" Something in his tone made me pause, but when I asked if it bothered him, he just shrugged. "She's family. It's fine." Except it wasn't fine. I could feel him pulling away, getting distant, but I couldn't pinpoint why. The real poison started at family dinners. Brooke would tell these little stories, laughing like they were funny anecdotes. "Oh my God, Claire forgot to pay me back again. I swear, she's so scattered about money. I'm starting to think I'll never see that $200. I'd stare at her, confused, because I'd never borrowed money from her. When I tried to correct her, she'd wave her hand dismissively. "I'm just teasing. Claire's so sensitive." My mom would pat my hand. "Honey, learn to take a joke." And I'd sit there, feeling crazy, wondering if maybe I had borrowed money and forgotten about it. Maybe I was scattered. Maybe I was the problem. Ryan started questioning me about work. "You said you'd be home at 6. It's 8:30, Claire." I'd explain about the emergency surgery, the dog that came in hit by a car, the puppy with parvo that needed round-the-clock care. He'd nod, but his eyes were cold. One night, I found out why. He showed me screenshots of my work schedule. Someone had sent them to him with little notes. She said 6. It's now 8:30. Where is she really? My hands shook as I looked at the messages. They came from a number I didn't recognize, but the schedule was accurate. Too accurate. I realized with a sick feeling that it was my old schedule app, the one I'd shared with Brooke years ago when we were planning a family trip. I'd never removed her access. When I confronted her, she cried. Real tears, the kind that made her mascara run. "Claire, I'm so sorry. I've been such a mess lately. Nathan and I are having problems, and I've been paranoid about everything. I saw your schedule and I got worried about you working so late. I didn't mean to send it to Ryan like that. Please don't tell him about Nathan and me. I'm so embarrassed." And like an idiot, I hugged her. I told her it was okay. I kept her secret. I made excuses to Ryan about her being stressed and making mistakes. The final attack came through my laptop. Ryan found messages that looked like I was planning to meet someone else. Flirty messages, suggesting coffee dates, talking about keeping things quiet. I'd never sent them. I'd never even seen them before. But there they were in my messaging app, time-stamped and damning. When I tried to explain, tried to say someone must have hacked my account, Ryan looked at me like I was a stranger. Just stop lying, Claire. I have proof. Your own sister tried to warn me you'd been acting suspicious, and I didn't believe her. I should have listened. That's when everything clicked into place. But by then, it was too late. Ryan wouldn't hear my explanations. He packed his bags that night, told me the apartment was in his name, and gave me 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live. I was too shocked to fight back, too devastated to do anything but watch my life crumble. Now I know the truth. It took me months to put the pieces together, but I finally understand what Brooke did. And the worst part? She almost got away with it completely. Moving into that studio apartment felt like admitting defeat. The walls were thin enough that I could hear my neighbor's television through the plaster, and the kitchen was barely big enough to turn around in. But it was mine, and more importantly, it was far enough away from everyone who'd chosen to believe Brooke over me. I'd lost 15 pounds in 2 months, not from any intentional diet, but because food tasted like cardboard and my stomach stayed in knots. My co-workers noticed. My boss noticed. Everyone could see I was falling apart, but nobody knew why, and I was too ashamed to tell them the truth. My parents called every few days, and each conversation felt like salt in an open wound. Honey, you must have done something to make Ryan react that way. Men don't just leave for no reason. My mother's voice was gentle, like she was trying to help, which somehow made it worse. When I tried to explain about the messages, about the schedule screenshots, about Brooke's convenient appearances, my father cut me off. Claire, your sister has been trying to support you through this. She's been worried sick. Maybe instead of pointing fingers, you should focus on figuring out what went wrong in your relationship. I stopped trying to defend myself after that. What was the point? Brooke played her role perfectly. She showed up at my apartment with groceries I didn't ask for, posting pictures on social media with captions like "always here for my little sister, no matter what." Her friends would comment with heart emojis and praise her for being such a good sibling. But when the door closed and the phone was put away, her mask slipped. She'd look around my tiny apartment with barely concealed satisfaction. You know, maybe this is for the best. Ryan needed someone more stable, someone who could handle the pressure of his lifestyle. Some people just aren't cut out for that world. I'd stand there, numb, wondering how I'd ever thought this woman loved me. 3 months after the breakup, I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Patterson was patient and kind, and she asked questions that made me uncomfortable. Claire, you keep saying you must have done something wrong, but what specifically did you do? I'd list all my failures. Working too much, not being attentive enough, being careless with money, forgetting things. She'd tilt her head and ask, but did you actually do those things, or were you told you did those things? The question rattled around in my head for days. I defended Brooke even in therapy, explaining that she was trying her best, that she had her own marriage problems, that she didn't mean to cause trouble. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon at a coffee shop 3 blocks from my apartment. I was picking up a latte when I heard someone say my name. Ryan's younger brother Troy stood behind me in line, and the look on his face was complicated. Anger, pity, confusion, all mixed together. I tried to walk past him, but he grabbed my arm gently. Claire, wait. Please. I need to talk to you. We sat in the corner booth and Troy looked like he was wrestling with something heavy. I never believed you cheated. I told Ryan that from the beginning, but he wouldn't listen to me. Something about this whole situation feels wrong. Troy explained that Brooke had been texting Ryan constantly since the breakup, checking on him, inviting him to family events that I supposedly couldn't handle attending. Troy had been at a family barbecue last month where he watched Brooke laugh too loud at Ryan's jokes, touch his arm when she talked to him, lean in close like they were sharing secrets. And here's the weird part, Troy said, stirring his coffee nervously. Nathan wasn't there. I asked where he was and Brooke said he was working. But Claire, I've asked about Nathan at the last 4 family events, and he's never there. She always has an excuse. That conversation planted a seed that grew into full-blown investigation. I went home and started digging through old files, old backups, anything I could find. That's when I discovered the remote access software on my laptop. The installation date made my blood run cold. It was the same week Brooke had borrowed my computer to print something for her book club. She'd had access to everything. My messages, my calendar, my photos, my entire digital life. I found deleted texts on an old phone I'd forgotten about, messages from my work colleagues asking why I'd sent them strange requests, messages I'd never written. Brooke had been pretending to be me, creating awkward situations, planting seeds of doubt everywhere. I stopped making excuses that day. Every family dinner, every sisterly heart-to-heart, every moment I'd thought we were finally bonding, it had all been strategy. Brooke hadn't wanted to support me. She'd wanted to study me, to find my weaknesses, to figure out exactly how to take Ryan for herself. The realization didn't make me sad anymore. It made me furious. But I didn't confront her. I'd learned enough to know that Brooke was always 3 steps ahead, always prepared with tears and explanations. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. The phone call came on a Thursday evening. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Ms. Claire Henderson? My name is Robert. I'm a private investigator, and I was hired to follow you 6 months ago. I need to talk to you about who hired me and what I actually found. My heart stopped. Ryan's parents had hired him to investigate the cheating allegations, but what he'd discovered instead was Brooke. Hotels. Expensive restaurants. Shopping trips where she'd conveniently run into Ryan. Robert felt guilty keeping silent, watching an innocent woman's life get destroyed based on fabricated evidence. He had reports, photographs, timestamps, everything I needed to prove what really happened. I had my proof now, and I was ready to use it. The knock on my door at 2 a.m. should have terrified me. Instead, I felt oddly calm as I looked through the peephole and saw Ryan standing in the hallway, holding a folder, his eyes red and swollen. Part of me wanted to leave him standing there. Let him feel a fraction of the abandonment I'd felt. But the look on his face stopped me. This wasn't the cold, angry man who'd accused me of cheating. This was someone who'd just had his world shattered. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. He deserved to say whatever he came to say from the hallway. Claire, His voice cracked. I found something. Nathan sent it to me. I need you to know that I am so incredibly sorry. He held out the folder with shaking hands. Inside was a journal. Brooke's journal. The entries were dated, detailed, and absolutely chilling. Claire doesn't appreciate what she has. She treats Ryan like he's ordinary when he could give someone the world. Someone who understands what real luxury means. Another entry from 2 months before a breakup read, "Once Claire is out of the picture, Ryan will see that I'm the better choice. The right sister. The one who deserves his family's name and everything that comes with it." Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. Nathan found it hidden in their home office during a marriage counseling session. He'd been suspicious for months about where Brooke was going, who she was meeting. The therapist suggested they start being honest about everything, and when Brooke left the room, Nathan went looking. He found this and dozens of other things. Fake social media accounts she'd created to send me anonymous messages about you. Receipts from hotels where she'd book rooms near places she knew I'd be, then pretend to run into me accidentally. I let him inside finally, but not because I forgave him. I let him in because I needed to hear everything. Nathan had hired his own investigator after finding suspicious charges on their credit card. Brooke had been telling him she was attending grief counseling sessions to support me through the breakup. Instead, she was meeting Ryan at coffee shops, at his office building, at the gym he frequented. Always in public. Always innocent looking. Always planting little seeds of doubt about me while positioning herself as the caring, concerned sister who just wanted what was best for everyone. Ryan looked at me with tears streaming down his face. I should have believed you. I should have listened when you tried to explain. But the evidence seemed so real, and Brooke was so convincing. She'd cry and say she didn't want to tell me these things about you, but she felt like she had to protect me. I felt nothing. No satisfaction at his apology. No anger at his betrayal. I'd already processed this pain with Robert's evidence. I'd already grieved the relationship. What I felt now was cold, calculated clarity. "I don't want you back," I said, and watched him flinch. "That's not why you're here, and it's not why I'm listening. But I do want the truth exposed." Ryan nodded slowly. Nathan wants the same thing. He's filing for divorce and he wants everyone to know why. We spent the next hour planning. My parents were celebrating their 34th wedding anniversary in 2 weeks with a big party. Extended family, family friends, everyone who'd watched my life fall apart and believed Brooke's version of events. That's where we'd do it. The night of the party, I walked in wearing a dress I'd bought specifically for this moment. Confident, elegant, unbothered. Brooke's face when she saw me was priceless. Confusion, then worry, then that fake smile she'd perfected. "Claire, I'm so glad you came. Are you doing okay?" I smiled back. "Better than ever, actually." After dinner, my father stood to make a speech. That's when Nathan stood up too. "Before you continue, there's something everyone needs to hear." The room went silent. Nathan pulled out his phone, connected it to the television my parents had set up for showing old family photos, and started reading. Brooke's journal entries filled the screen, her handwriting unmistakable. Her plans to seduce Ryan. Her excitement about destroying my relationship. Her calculations about his family's wealth and social position. Brooke tried to speak, her voice rising in panic. "That's private. You can't just." But Ryan stood next, pulling out his own evidence. The fake social media accounts, traced back to IP addresses in Brooke's home. The investigator reports showing her fabricated run-ins. The messages she'd sent using my login credentials. Then I stood, and the room fell completely silent. I presented Robert's findings. Every photo, every timestamp, every hotel receipt and restaurant bill where Brooke had stalked Ryan while telling her husband she was supporting her heartbroken sister. My mother looked like she might faint. My father's face had gone from confused to horrified. Brooke's carefully built image crumbled in real time as she tried to explain, to justify, to minimize. But there was no explaining away a journal full of calculated manipulation. Nathan's voice was steady as he announced the divorce proceedings he'd already filed. Ryan's parents, who'd been silent until now, stood and revealed the final piece. During their investigation into me, they'd discovered something else. 7 years ago, when I was dating someone in college, that relationship had ended abruptly because of rumors about me being unfaithful. Rumors that were never proven but destroyed the relationship anyway. They'd traced those rumors back to anonymous accounts. The same kind Brooke had created to destroy my engagement with Ryan. 7 years. She'd been sabotaging my happiness for 7 years, anytime I had something she wanted. The room erupted in shocked conversations, but I just stood there, watching Brooke realize that everyone finally saw her for what she truly was. Not a concerned sister, not a victim of misunderstanding, but a predator who'd spent years systematically destroying her own sister's life. I didn't stay for the rest of the party. I'd said what I needed to say and exposed what needed to be exposed. Ryan followed me outside, and we talked for a long time under the streetlights. We didn't get back together. Too much damage, too much pain tied us together now. But we found closure. Real closure. He went his way and I went mine, both of us finally free from Brooke's web. I cut contact with Brooke completely. My parents apologized, begged me to reconsider, to think about family. But I'd learned something valuable through all of this. Some people don't deserve a place at your table, no matter how much DNA you share. I keep my parents at a distance now, cordial but careful. They made their choice when it mattered most, and I've made mine. 6 months later, I'm thriving. New job at a prestigious animal hospital. New apartment in a better neighborhood. New understanding of my own worth. I lost a fiancé but gained something more valuable. The ability to recognize toxicity and refuse to make excuses for it. The strength to walk away from people who hurt me even when they're family. The knowledge that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's simply refusing to let them destroy you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story or opinions in the comments.